Hi, everyone. Welcome to a virtual Giodone Library program. Today, we're going to have our librarian, Sandy, to share Happy Living with Hygge. Here you go, Sandy.
Great. Thanks for joining us. And I just want to say that the candle kit and the recipe book will be as a kit to go at Giodone Library. So please come and pick it up whenever you can. Thank you. So when we talk about hygge, well, the first hard part is how do you say it? And you can say it hygge or hygge. I've seen it both ways. And one of my questions to my audience is, what is hygge to you? And how did you find out about it in the first place? Or do you know about it? For me, I am part of a Facebook group that is called Hygge Living, and it's really a wonderful group of people that find things that bring them joy and adhere to sort of the hygge idea, the Scandinavian idea. But on that group, sometimes there are questions about, is this really hygge? And in general, people are like, yes, whatever makes you happy. However, a couple of times, some Danes had said, well, that's not exactly hygge. So that made me curious to find out more about it. And in doing so, I looked at the origin of the word, and it is from very Old Norse, from 1560, actually. And as you can see on this slide, it has sort of different connotations. It is both a quality of experience and also a physical dwelling place, so a person's home. And a lot of the books, a lot of recent publications about hygge do focus on making your home have that quality or create that atmosphere physically. But it's also relational. And so a lot of what I found had to do with that. And it's Danish, and it reflects a lot of Danish cultural norms. So some are English translation, for example, the quality of coziness and comfortable conviviality, that gets to it, but there's absolutely no exact translation of it. And you'll see other sort of synonyms that speak to it. And in other cultures, there are similar ideas that are not completely translatable, but have to do with this feeling of a sort of quality of interaction. And so, as you can see, the Germans have Gemütlichkeit, the Dutch have Gezelligkeit, and I'm not going to try translating or speaking the other words, but in Norway and Scotland, in Japan, also in Canada, there's the idea of hominess. In Russia, it's called ujuit. Again, forgive my translation or my speaking. In the Caribbean, Erie, Czech, pohada, and the Irish have an idea called crack, which is more about having fun, for example. But so again, it reflects that specific culture. And in Denmark, the Danes use it widely. It is a noun, it is a verb, and it's an adjective, and it's used quite regularly in their phrases. So, for example, now we're going to hygge. The second expression is your home hygge, your household hygge. A hygge spreader is somebody who spreads it, your family hygge, and you even have hygge socks. So it's ubiquitous. And mainly it has to do with social relationships, although you can create and practice hygge as an individual, as an introvert, which is a lovely thing too. But generally 3 to 4 people get together and sort of enable this atmosphere, if you will. In Denmark, 78% of Danes socialize once a week, and that's higher than other European cultures. So work-life balance, as in most of the Nordic countries, it does incorporate family time on a regular basis. And the quitting time for parents is 4 p.m. and for non-parents is 5 p.m. So they have time to engage in their social relationships. Another expression that is used a lot is a farewell after people have gotten together. Even if it's a bit tense, they will say that was hyggeligt. So it kind of very ritualistic and customary expressions that are used all the time. And the next day, when those people might see each other again, they will have an expression called "tak for seats," which is thank you for the time that we got together before. And the proper response is, yes, it was very hyggeligt. So you can see it's a foremost sort of polite interaction among people. So moving along, here is another definition, and I want to also read an expression of the different characteristics that was written by a Dane, because it goes more into the specific kinds of relationship that people have. Hygge, as practiced by the Danes, has special characteristics. It depends upon the complete and positive participation of all present in the encounter. It requires an evenness of flow, a sustained back and forth dance of involvement that encourages and even demands this level of participation. Thirdly, the achievement of these goals is made possible by a range of positive social skills, including teasing, which is a national pastime, quick repartee, telling of stories and jokes, patience, sensitivity, and the ability to be an enthusiastic audience as well as a performer. The ability to participate easily in social encounters that bring this principle to life is a part of the Danish heritage that others can well regard with envy. So I like that it includes the joking and the repartee and the evenness, the back and forth. I think that's really an important aspect of it. So when people get together and engage in hygge, there's no competition, there's no vying for attention or social position. And as I said before, it's usually a tight-knit group of people who know each other, which on the other hand makes it difficult for newcomers to break into, to fit in with that group, for example. Everybody participates, whether it's preparing a meal or doing another activity. And it's antithetical to excess. You don't show off. Clothing is casual. Food and drink shouldn't be elaborate or have be overly planned out. The host has an attitude of relaxed thoughtfulness and shouldn't be eager to control the social interactions or the conversation. A couple of aspects sociologically and historically I just want to mention before we get to the more fun stuff. Class is really embarrassing to the Danes because they want to take like a middle class, sort of middle of the road view that people are equal, that within that sameness, that equality, there's an idea of sameness. And on the other hand, too, that can quell personal differences. So there's sort of the other side of that as well. And historically, the Danes were a peasant people, so they had to work hard to eke out a living, and therefore happiness was sort of a in short commodity. There wasn't a lot of it to go around, and the Danes had an idea similar to that of the evil eye in some other cultures, where you don't want people to envy you for your fortune, your looks, or anything like that, because that could bring a downfall to you, for example. So you don't want to thwart others' happiness by envying them, and in turn, you don't want people to envy you because you want to believe that you gained your good fortune through skill and luck, but you don't want to stand out either. So it's just that fear of envy, which like historically went back to this idea of bringing witchcraft on each other, or on yourself if if you had envy of other people. And there's this quote about it inevitably spurring magical practices aimed at stealing one's luck or happiness, or even more dangerous sanctions, such as accusations that one was engaged in destructive witchcraft, which is very dark and not very Hygge sounding. So if we go and look at, well, what does Hygge have to do with happiness? Mike Viking is the gentleman who wrote the Little Book of Hygge, which is really a fantastic book and definitely worth looking at. It's very thoughtful and well-rounded. And he is the head of the Happiness Research Institute in Copenhagen, where the researchers evaluate and measure happiness based on three different areas. These are life satisfaction, the affective level of your emotional state of being on a day-to-day basis, and what's called the Eudemaic idea, which is Aristotle's idea of living a meaningful life. So they measure, as well, the UN also measures happiness levels across various countries. And so Denmark has, generally speaking, been number one for a number of years, as well as Holland, because they practice these ideas of hygge and because the other word of, oh, sorry, Gezelligkeit, as part of their everyday living. Although, just a note, Finland has overtaken in the past couple of years because people there have a realistic expectation of their lives and of what they can achieve. So in this video, which unfortunately I'm not able to play, Viking makes statements like, oh yes, it's sinful. You can eat chocolate, you can have good food, alcohol, people gather together and it's about feeling good. It's about creating the atmosphere, and engaging with people. So, so he really talks to some of the physical aspects, which I'm going to go into. And the reason I chose the candle is it's very, very popular in Denmark and in the other Nordic countries because of the long, long, dark winters. Light is very important, and creating pools of light to create a more intimate setting is also a technique that they use. So you can see some of the expressions here. The living lights are everywhere. They will light candles in schools, in offices, in homes, just everywhere, public places. It's something we would be too afraid to do because of fire hazards, perhaps. And the one who puts out the candle is the spoil sport, which I think is clever. And the high levels of the Danes using candle wax. Mike Viking says that even though there are the particles get released in the soot from the candles, nobody messes with the Hygge fanatics about their candles. But your candle kits have soy wax, so there shouldn't be any particulates that are dangerous. Moving on, Danish lighting is very specific and also very expensive, apparently. But you can see the intricacy and the creativity of these designs that do deal with the light. There's no fluorescent lights; those are horrible. But that will create these little intimate areas of lighting. And it's interesting if any of you watch Scandinavian noir. For example, in The Bridge, I just saw one of these lights by Paul Henningsen in one of the episodes. So now that you've seen them, you'll start seeing them if you watch those kinds of movies. Confectionery and cakes Very important too. The Danes eat almost twice as much of those as other Europeans, 18 pounds a year. And they do cakewalks at work where you will go from office to cake watch, and look at what's available in each office and make your decision on what you want to try. And finally, the Kagamond is that rough kind of looking guy with the Danish flags there. And that is a traditional birthday cake that children will help to make. There's the Kagaman and the Kaga woman. And so they will help decorate them. And then they have a very unhygge tradition of slitting its throat when they are having their birthday parties. So I don't know about that. La Glace is something that if you want to look it up, it is a very venerable bakery and confectionery store in Copenhagen, and it's just amazing and scary, the beautiful and luscious things that they make that you can see on their website. Warm drinks. Shockingly, the Danes drink more coffee than we do, which it really surprised me. And the hot drinks are even higher than candles in terms of creating hygge or engaging in hygge. So another thing that is hygge, definitely the hot drinks, and also bicycle riding, and points if you can do both. The Hygge household. So the Danes consider their homes a real haven from the outside world, and they are a place where every member of the family can sort of heal and just seek refuge from the world. It's a place for intimacy, integration, and wholeness. And it becomes a home, the house becomes a home by virtue of a special kind of togetherness that isn't available in public places. And some of the aspects of the Hygge household, on the top left, you'll see the Hygge Krog, which is a little nook, and frequently they will have reindeer skins. They'll have things that are very sensory, to tactile, things that you want to touch. And it's a little place where you can look out on the world or read or drink your hot drink, and just watch the world go by. So those are important. Going to the other side, the little souvenirs, photographs help personalize the home, living plants. And on the bottom there, you might see knitting and yarn falling out of a basket. So things that are handmade are important. The tables with flowers, so you have the scents of those, the smells. Items that are handed down and known, the maker is known, are also really highly valued. So it's sort of the opposite of mass consumerism, essentially. And finally, we have the different activities. As in the little book of Hygge, it says that November through March is the Hygge season because of the rainy Danish weather. So things that are free, the board games, the pantry party, which sounds wonderful, where people would get together and bring all of the ingredients to create jam or soup, or some from the produce of the season, sauces, what have you. And everybody gets together in one place and makes those things and then shares it with each other. So you come away with a variety of food items that have been prepared. TV night, fires, movies, a swap party, which again is where people would bring something that they're not using, presumably maybe clothing or appliances, things that they own that are no longer being used, and see if someone else can use them and just swap things out. And in the summer, well, in the warmer seasons, summer, visiting an orchard, community garden, having little libraries, whether it's inside the house, picnicking and biking. So, free activities that involve just spending time with others. And would ask questions, but the sources I used here were an article and that Hygge book. And I hope that this was enjoyable and that became more familiar with this concept and maybe want to read some more books. There are a lot of good electronic books there in the library that you can check out, and some of the physical ones too. So I just want to say thank you, and please come get your candle kit and recipes, and I hope you enjoy them. Thank you.